of 7 members. You're still going to need 5 votes in order to move a project along. Having said that, Mr. Chair, the floor is yours.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:02, and we'll start off with roll call.
Gail Linden,
Sarah Gutierrez.
Adam Wallace.
Chris Koliaski.
David Schwartz.
Merle Stewart.
Present.
And approval for the agenda this evening.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Gail, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. And approval for the minutes for March 27th, 2026.
so moved.
Second? Second, Adam? All in favor?
Aye.
I need to abstain as I was not here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Okay, moving on to number 5, matter of site plan review for the addition at 25484 Wareham. And if you wanted to come forward to the table and present your project.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Mike.
Hi, Karen.
So yeah, we live at 25484. We wanted to do a home expansion addition with a new garage in the
Can you
backyard.
talk into the mic?
We wanted to do
Thank you.
a home addition. So the addition of a master bedroom in the back. Currently, we have a sunroom / family room, and we want to put a master bedroom on top of that. Then we have a garage, in the, kind of a built into the house garage in the front that we wanted to turn into a study / office. Yeah, you can see it there in the upper right-hand corner of the garage door. So we wanted to put a big bay window into that and make that into a study. And then we wanted to move a detached garage into the backyard. So that's the general overview.
Hank, did you have,
Yeah, let me. Okay.
We didn't get these, did we, Hank? The plan for the house? We
It
only-
was in the link.
it was in the link.
Yeah.
Was it? I
Yeah.
didn't go, okay,
It was in the link.
I'll go back to the.
So
link.
that's where that is. That's the link.
All I could find is site plan.
So,
I didn't find any.
okay, these are the plans for it right here that we're looking at. So, the site plan approval for a second floor addition and a garage detached at Wareham, 25484. They don't need site plan approval for the garage. They need site plan approval for the house and the square footage that they have for the house. So what we're looking at, is an R1C property, contains one platted lot. We're showing 50 by 141, 6,758 square feet. Maximum height, 30, proposed is 23.2. Front yard required is 30, proposed is 36. Side yard required is minimum 5, total 14. Proposed is 4.31 side, 13.3 total. That's existing. So that already exists, so they're actually short by that. But there's house there, there's nothing that they can really do about that. They don't make a house shrinker. So the rear yard at 35 feet, proposed is 51.04. The lot coverage, the maximum at 30% is 2,027 square feet, and they're at 29.87% and 2,018.9 square feet. So they're real close, but they are under. Maximum house size, 3,150 square feet, proposed is 2,940. Again, then we have our calculations as to how we got to 3,150 on your, below, so you can take a look at that. The neighboring properties are all similar in size. This one is actually 50 by 141, and the neighbors both are, one is 47.5 wide, the other is 48 point. And then the lot area is similar to all of the lots on either side. The lot to the south is 6,693 square feet. They're 6,758. The next lot on the other side of them is 6,812. Their house is 2,940 is what they're looking at. The north neighbor is 2,013. The south neighbor is 2,983. So it's one's a little bigger and one's smaller. They're all colonials, two-story colonials, and they're all exterior materials is brick, although there is some siding currently on the houses that exists. They are detached garages. The one house to the north does not have a garage. So having said that, what we're looking at, just going through the elevations here for you, is if you take a look at it on the proposed left side, well, let me just see if there's a, yeah, okay. Proposed left side elevation, you see the second floor is going to be a sided floor there, siding on the other side. Both sides, the right and left side elevations have windows on either side that are balanced. And then below, there's also a window and there's a door on the inside for the right side elevation on the below level. And on the rear elevation, you take a look and you can see that there's a window up there, which I'm going to assume is an egress window. And then there's this floor, and then there's a roof that comes down on the back side. So the back elevation, these are the elevations that people are going to see. On this side here, they did put in garage elevations, although they're not required to. The garage is, I mean, they'll need it for building, but they don't need it for planning commission, because the planning commission wouldn't approve or disapprove a garage unless it's a new house, which this is not. So this is where we're at with this. And again, let me get to the front side here. This is the space that they're looking to recapture here where the garage door is on the front. And then on the front elevation, correct me if I'm wrong, what material were you planning on putting in there?
You mean the window? The window?
No, where the garage door is,
I think it's just going to be large windows.
a large window,
Large
okay.
window.
So then that's going to make life a little bit easier for everybody. So having said that, I don't have anything else for you. If you have any questions, I'm sure that they would be happy to answer them, and we'll take a whack at those that they can.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
I used to live next door
Oh,
at 25474. So this will always be the Freilich house to me, and they put that addition on, and we put the addition on behind that. What is your intent in converting the garage to a study with, you can't keep the driveway that goes up to the front of the house. So what are you doing there? You know, that driveway has to be pulled out in front of the house and can only go as a normal driveway is, and it wasn't in any of the plans. Hank, I have this open on my iPad. I did not get any of the elevations or things like that, but, you know, that's why I'm asking, because I know you have, you
Okay,
were putting something in there.
I'm pulling this off the link.
I have the link open myself, but I'm
Okay,
asking.
I'm not going to debate it with you. This is where that came from.
yeah, so the plan was get rid of the garage door, put in a bay window, and then put in a big bed area in front of it. So cut the driveway out. So I don't know if we had any actual specific distance away from the house, 10 feet, 15 feet, something like that.
Well, I don't know about a patio in the front, but,
There
No,
won't
they
be,
didn't.
Not a
there
patio.
won't be a
Yeah.
patio
say?
allowed in
He
the
said bay window.
Bay window.
oh, bay window, but what are you, you're gonna put in landscaping and,
Landscaping, yeah.
and lawn and things like that and move the
Yeah.
walkway?
Yep. Walkway will be removed, yep.
Okay. And the back corner of the house already has a small addition next to the family room, sunroom there, and nothing is going above that? It's only going above the family room?
Oh, that's actually an attached mudroom, so that's new too. So right now, there's just the family room. There's nothing else, it's just a patio.
Okay, so the
Yep.
mudroom is new also? Will
Yes,
be new-
yep.
Will be new also?
Yeah, and there's nothing above the mudroom.
Okay.
Yep.
Hank, the plans for comparison of the three homes on the block lists 25474, 25494, and 25494 on your paper. So the subject property is 25484.
Okay,
And you did point out that their setbacks on the side are pre-existing,
yes.
correct? Okay, because on their application, it said that they're gonna have the right setbacks, so that's why I wondered.
Well, we're going off the survey.
Okay. I just read it carefully and it was different. Okay, that's it.
Any other?
I have questions.
Okay. You didn't have
No
a question? Okay, I'm sorry. All right. No further questions from myself. So we'll open it up to public participation, and we'll limit the comments to 3 minutes.
Hi there, Susan Considine from the South. I just wanted to check, the planning commission checklist, I gave you that, a list of ideas for stormwater management 2 months ago, I think it was. And this is failure to submit all items and all information in this list will result in a delay of application until it is complete. I'm guessing you guys don't see it. And I had suggested on that form that we look at all of our CYA procedures. And this plan is missing stuff. Now, if he says you guys don't have to approve the garage, I think you should have to, because it's all part of this whole plan of removing a garage, putting in a garage. And so, we've had projects come before and we don't know the slope of the driveway. Like, I don't know if those arrows indicate the slope of the driveway, the garage apron. But then who's gonna look over that? And then why is this garage dropping its downspouts at the back into the six foot setback? You've got about 470 square feet of the garage and only 130 square feet of setback. And so I looked over it on Google aerial maps, and the neighbors, also, if you go back to can you go back to the survey?
This is comments, not,
Okay, well, the survey is required to detail all the adjacent buildings, and there's one, 25497 Hereford. I would consider them one of the most vulnerable, their backyard vulnerable neighbors to this project, and they weren't detailed on the plan, only the projects north and south. So, anybody who approves this tonight without all this extra information, as far as I'm concerned, you're approving it, and I know you guys have all these CYA clauses where the resident says, oh yeah, we promise to follow code, but by nature of you approving it, you're sanctioning it in some ways. So I think you have to look at this as an integrated project, since they're removing the garage, adding a garage, and now they have to expand it. And again, hopefully you'll talk about it later, you have to look at the rear lot coverage, and it's not just 50%, it's which way is the water going, and can they manage it on their own property? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public participation.
First, can I say something in
Yeah.
response to that? They're not removing a garage, they're removing a shed. They have an attached garage that's part of their house, and they're converting that to living space. So they're not tearing down a garage and building a garage, they're building a full garage in the back, a two-car garage, whereas they have, it used to have a one-car driveway and a one-car garage, but it's got a wider driveway, and that's my concern.
It's not a dialogue. Gail, it would be helpful if you addressed us about these issues, not one-on-one
Okay.
with our knowledgeable resident.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry.
Commissioner?
I mean, it's
Oh, you're,
yourself in your role.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, any other discussion or?
Only on the comment that was made about that there's a presumption that the homeowner is going to comply with code. I mean, that's, any architect, anybody involved in this, I mean, that is the rock presumption, rock foundation of it, that it complies with code, because otherwise, it's not gonna get built, it's not gonna happen. And we do watch the project as it goes up, and, you know, yeah, dealing with Mr. Berry over many years, including when we sat together on the planning commission many years ago, I think, there's a high degree of responsiveness to this, so, I would make a motion to approve the site plan as proposed.
Any further questions, or do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, just for clarification on that. So because the garage does not require planning commission approval, you would be approving this with the exception of the garage. So there'd be no reason to approve something that the planning commission wouldn't necessarily have purview over. So your motion should reflect for the house, for the residents. And then when they come in for the garage, that's when we would look at the appropriate grading and everything like that. So if Mr. Olson would be amenable to amending his
Yes,
motion.
so amenable.
Okay. So you have amended your,
Amended my motion to deal with the garage issue.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, matter of site plan review for new house at 2610 Henry. And you guys want to come up to the table, bring some extra chairs if you like.
Big party.
A lot of people here.
And just introduce yourselves and your project. And
Sure. I'm Mark Filer. This is my wife, Amy. We've been in Huntington Woods for 13 years or so, and we've outgrown our existing house on Boardman. So we are looking to build a new house. We bought the house on the corner of Hendry and Nadine. I think for those that have driven past, it's probably well past its useful life there. So we plan on having a new project. It's got some uniqueness, as you can tell by the irregular lot shape. But, you know, we've been able to come up with a plan to build within the buildable space in partnership with Hank. Numerous meetings to make sure we're checking the boxes as it relates to the particulars of the house. We've partnered with Sandoval Homes, Dave and Kim Sandoval, along with Kimberly Thomas, who does a lot of work in Huntington Woods, to help get us to where we needed to be. But I'll turn it over to them for house-specific particulars.
Yeah, so I'm David Sandoval. This is my wife, Kim. We're Sandoval Homes. We're just very excited about this project. We've been working really hard with Mark, with revisions and everything, and we're just, God willing, we can just build the project and just make a house that is according to the architecture and the character of Henry Boulevard. And we're here for any questions or like just whatever you need in as far as like the blueprints and the survey. You just let us know.
thank you. Hank, would you?
Yeah, okay, so, I actually have a lot, because this is a lot, okay? The house that was there, first off, I'm gonna tell you, for them tearing the house down, thank you. So, having said that, that does present them with some unique problems that they have to deal with this. So one of the things is that while the other house faced Nadine, this house by code has to face Hendry, which isn't a bad thing. It just presents a different set of problems, and that they now have to fit the house and an attached garage and everything into a very limited space. If you take a look at the survey that you have there, what you'll see is a building line, and then you'll see the house as it fits in there. The front doors of the garage, which are on Nadine, not on Hendry, because if you put them on Hendry, that would be over 50% of the front lot, and you can't have that. You can't have the garage be the dominant feature. So instead of that, what they've done is they've swung it over to the side. So that presents a different set of problems. You can't put it at the back because as the lot narrows, you don't have 18 feet from the garage door to the lot line. And you have to have that because you can't have them build and create an immediate situation where they have to have on-street parking because they can't park a car in front of their garage. So that's what had to happen. So now let's take a look at the elevations to see how they accomplished it and what it was. First place, they've given us more landscaping plans than anybody I've ever seen. So I appreciate the detail, but I'm not gonna go over too much in detail with that, so let's, so this kind of gives you, because you are required for a landscape plan. So what they've done is, in the back, okay, they've put like where the grass area is, the whole lot is gonna be beds. A rain garden is slated for the backyard. They have this area here, which is lanai, and I want to talk about that when we get there in a minute, because that also puts them over the required lot coverage. So when you take a look at this and you see the house, let's first take a look at that. So your front entryway is here, you've got a front porch that's here, it's a pretty good sized front porch, and you've got a 3-car garage on the side, which they're entitled to. So, but that's the only place that you can put that. And you can see now that the house starts to flush itself out, there's no other place to put that. So then what you do is, let me just get to another one of these. Okay, so they're also bringing in trees. This shows the trees that they're bringing in. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you went with Great Lakes Landscape Design?
Yep.
Okay, so, yeah, so most everybody knows them. Let me get to the other ones. They've got all the names for the bushes and that, but you can see that there's quite an extensive landscape set up for this house. I want to get to the actual construction plans here. Okay. So here what we have is we have the front of the house. And again, you folks have seen what the elevations look like. They did give us an AI rendering of what that's gonna look like, which is way more pop than what you're seeing here. What you're looking at is a Tudor revival style of structure. So this is a house that's most commonly found in the R1C and R1B district in Huntington Woods because you have a little bit higher roof height allowed for that. So it's interesting in that they have the roofs are balanced, they're using types of windows that are consistent with the Tudor revival style of architecture. They're using plain, but they're using half timber, so the actual plan, and I'll show you on the rendering, which they've told me that they're gonna do. This is the side with the garage, but I wanna get to the, this is just taking forever to do this way down here. If you've got a better way of doing
I've
that.
got some pictures of the rendering, well, up if you want to grab those.
We'll get there. We have them, don't we? Yeah. Okay, so go back to the, well, I can pass these out. Okay, so I want to pass these and show you all should have this at your place. And we can pass some of these around, and we can also make this available for the audience to take a peek at, if they would like. And most of that's the side.
These two,
Oh, beautiful, okay, thank you.
so the front and side.
Yeah, so if you take a look at those,
No, they're two different ones. Neighborhood facing.
yeah, so, we don't have those. Go ahead. And we're gonna find something, so. If you take a look at the plans that you have over there, what you're looking at, some of the features on that are not reflected on the plan that we have. So the features on there that you'll see that are not reflected on here are typically stucco half timber, which you'll see there. And, my understanding is that is what you plan on using. So the plans will be resubmitted when they come in for building plan, will reflect this, which is called stucco half timber. And that's an old Tudor style of architecture. So that would be there. That's the only thing, and what that does there and here is that breaks up a lot of the mass of the brick and of stone. So the materials that they're using along with this are all common to Tudor Revival structures. Here we go. So can you flip that? Even I can't look at that sideways. There you go. Okay, so this is kind of what we're looking at, and I don't know, can they see the cursor up there? Yes. Okay, so when you're looking at here, you're looking at an architectural shingle, correct? Guys, you're looking at an architectural shingle for this. Okay, you're looking at the old style downspouts, which will run down here through here. This roof here, as I understood it, was gonna be a metal roof
Yeah.
in the front. This area here is a stucco half timber. These windows are all have the mutton bar pattern. Here you have you have three on each side, three on each side. Here you have the same three arch windows. This window is different than this window, and these two are common to that. So what you have is here you have an elevation that has architectural interest, has material interest, and has stone. So this type of architecture actually is one of my favorite, not that it makes a difference. But when you see the stone and you see the stucco half timber and the brick, it makes a big difference. So then we have this, which is on the side. And I will point out that all these were AI, so they're not exactly the way that it will be, but they're really pretty close. So having said that, this one looks a little bit different from the last one. Here you're having the stone that goes over the garage on here, and you have the coach lights by each one of the doors, which is a nice feature. And then you have the windows up here, and all the windows, instead of roll locks and that type of thing, have stone trim. So it's kind of like above and beyond what we typically would ask for. But that's one of the things. Now, I need to get back to this. Can you turn this so that I can? Okay. So now here, we're good on this. We have the height up to 35 feet allowed, 33 feet, 11 inches is what they have. Front yard, 40 is allowed, 44 is what they have, 44.7. Side yards, minimum 5, 23 total, 8-foot minimum on the corner side. They have 18 on the one side because they have the garage on the side and they have to keep the door set for that, so they're well over on that. So they have proposed 4.7 on one side, it's not 14.9, it should be 18. So that should say 18 on that side. Rear yard required 35, 48.05 to the house. Now, there is a lanai that sticks out in the back, and we're gonna go to that again. The front, the allowable coverage for that is gonna be 25%, because it's an R1B district, okay? They're at 28.7. They're allowed 2,750 square feet, and they're asking for 3,150 square feet. Variance is 400 square feet plus 34.34, which is required. The house size, the maximum is 3622, proposed is 3620. So they snuck in by a couple feet, but nonetheless, they are there. So the only thing that really is the difference is gonna be the lanai, and there's an overhang, that's gonna be there. But that's typically not an issue. The house lanai on lot coverage, they were planning on asking for a 400.34 square foot variance, in part because of the practical difficulty of trying to fit the allowed size plus a lanai, which is simply an outdoor porch, on a very irregular lot configuration. Again, any approval should be subject to the Zoning Board of Appeals ruling. So again, I did want to point out that the AI renderings are not exactly, but that would be important. The lot itself is an exceptionally difficult one to manage. I can tell you that we've had, for a period of time, almost daily meetings, trying to get this to work and come out with the project that you see before you. And again, as always, any motion should include managing stormwater so as not to discharge onto neighboring properties. Even though two sides are both the city, there's a sidewalk, and then Nadine, and then there's Hendry. So the Hendry has 40 feet, so that's one side that's different. I do want to go back to, can you give me back to the plan, the site plan? We'll let my tech expert do this. The site plan. Yeah, the site plan. Back me up. Okay, this one here. Let's do this. Okay, so on this one here, because you can see what I'm talking about, the area that's blacked in here is an outdoor porch. So what they've done with their grading and what they've done with their drainage with this is they submitted a drainage and grading plan, which we did send to NOAC and Frous, a copy of which you got in your packet. So if you have their final approval for anything, they're going to have to comply with all of that. That's on record. That will be what's approved. So you would also make a motion to, that they would comply with the NOAC and Frous recommendations for the managing the stormwater on site. So that would be the other thing. But they have gone ahead and they've done a lot with this, and that they've have the rain garden in the back, so a lot of the water that would be draining to an area. They've made a rain garden also in the front. So they've certainly made an effort to maintain that, and they've also put a significant area of green space and bushes and vegetation around the entire house. So, I don't know what their landscape budget is, but they're doing a nice job for the city on that. So, other than that, that's really all that I have. We're happy to take any questions. I'm sure that, that the Sandoval's or Mark would be happy to answer any questions you have, and we'll take our best shot over here.
Okay, thank you, Hank. Open up to any questions?
Driveway surface,
Driveway surface is concrete.
Yeah.
concrete.
The approaches all have to be concrete, because the city requires that, and then they're putting their driveway in as concrete as well.
I think it's a beautiful house and it fits in really nicely, and it's not like, some of these modern farmhouses that are just tossed up, like it looks like it belongs. The architecture's really nice. It's my
I could
only-
tell.
My only 2 cents.
Right. Finished?
Mhm.
You have 2 egress windows on the south side of the building, is that correct?
Yes,
On which bedroom?
Okay.
it's on the,
On the basement, yeah.
And now that I've met you, Amy, I understand what an Amy Nook is.
The Amy Nook, yes.
I didn't know what the architectural term was on the blueprint
yes.
for an Amy Nook.
Arts and crafts.
She really wanted that one.
You're gonna need a variance from the ZBA in order to have your lanai, which is over 400 feet. Partly, you need it because it's an irregular lot. If the lot was square, you'd have more square footage. In looking at it, sometimes when you go to the ZBA, the question asked is it the least possible space that you could use in requesting? I looked at the plans and wondered why it butted out past the house. It would be less that you're asking for if it were shorter and it's squared off with your dining nook. I don't know how many square feet that takes off it, but that's the question that's gonna be asked when you go to the ZBA, is it the least possible, thing? And I looked at whether it was possible to make it smaller. That was my only question. It's a beautiful house and a beautiful plan, and you got all the square footage in but 2 that you could get in, so I salute you in planning it that way.
Thank you, the back lanai is just 289 square feet, but altogether, I think all of the porch areas is what you were referring to, the 400. I just wanted to see that, and then,
And Mr. Chair, I just want to be clear that the province of the variance is the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
and I think, so I'm just looking at the survey right now, looks like the lanai is about 13.6 in depth. So if we did it just the depth of the dining nook, it would only be 8 feet. So it would be a little bit difficult, I think, for, furniture placement, but, I mean, that's sort of why we extended it a little bit, but just to answer your question.
Did you not tell us that the 400 square feet was for the lanai?
I said in another covered area.
Well, she said it's 200, it's not.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
it's
you would
just-
just add, there's a little bit more to, if you count like some overhangs that Hank mentioned for the front porch
Okay.
area. Yeah.
So it's really
Almost.
it's two different areas that account for the 400 square feet.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Nothing. I mean, it's a really good looking plan.
Questions?
No questions, looks nice.
I don't have questions. The only thing I would like to disclose is that, for transparency's sake, that I do know Amy, but I don't feel like I have a conflict in making a decision.
I brought that up also to Hank, but he said, we know 90% of the people in the neighborhood. And if I was related, I should, and I was like, okay, then I'm just gonna not say anything.
So,
So I'm there too.
So to be clear, Mr. Chair, because I appreciate the candor in both,
Yeah.
Between Sarah and Abril. The measure has always been, do you have a personal relationship? Not so much that you know people, because everybody knows pretty much everybody in Huntington Woods, or do you have a business relationship with that? And my understanding is they do not.
I have neither.
Correct, same.
So having said that, that's up to the chair. If they
Is that
want.
something we need to vote on, or is that just something,
Well, they're just declaring it.
Just
If you feel
declaring
that
it.
there's a vote needed,
because,
I don't
Yeah,
believe that
yeah.
there is.
I mean, in full disclosure, I do also know the filers as well, and do not have a business relationship or,
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
what we run
yeah,
up against in
yeah.
Huntington Woods, and so, just to be fair to everybody.
I work in Bergen, so I know.
yeah, you know a lot of people.
Mr. Chairman, I only have one question. After you've been to the ZBA, how fast will you start on this project?
I mean, immediately.
Says the neighbor that
Excellent.
looks at it every day.
Since it is clearly in my line of sight, as they say. Excellent,
We want that house going as soon as
Excellent.
possible.
looks better already.
Any questions? No. Jules, any questions? Nope, that was it? Okay. I don't have any questions. Like I said, I appreciate the attention to detail that has clearly been put forth in this plan and landscaping and so forth, so. If there's no further questions, we'll open it up to public participation and limit to 3 minutes.
Susan Constantine. I agree, it's a beautiful house, and I think the corner will look much better. This is more of a procedural issue. Again, I think this planning commission review checklist, the last revision was in 2005. I would like to recommend that you review it and use it as, have it function as a procedure, and also have it function to give to the architects, because one of the things that says on here is that the downspouts have to be indicated on all the elevations, and I did not see downspouts on the southern elevation. And it has a very narrow setback, and you guys care a lot about, or at least enforcement only cares about which way downspouts are pointed, and they did make a point of detailing which way they're pointed, but I don't see any it looks like they are marked on the aerial survey, but I don't see them on the elevations, and that's a requirement. So I just think Huntington Woods, I've seen so many lapses in the files. Use this as a checklist, and somebody should be signing off on it. When I look back at old property files, I saw some where people would actually put initials. Sometimes they put yes, no, leave some blank. So technically, I come from a profession where we took records very seriously, and you checked everything off, because you could be audited. And so I think you've left them off. If you do have the southern elevation downspouts on, I take that back, but still I wanna emphasize the procedure, because I've come enough times and seen projects come up here that there's not enough in the site plan for it to have even come before all of you. And then sometimes you even voted in, so.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Yep.
Hey, Steve.
Steve Behrman, 26066 Henry. I'm 4 houses to the south of this. And I do have to say, after spending 6 years on this commission and 6 years on the zoning board of appeals and 6 years on the historic district, plans like this certainly make your job much easier. I just have one question though. The color of the brick, will it be as indicated on the renderings in the stone color?
I would say that's what we're leaning towards right now. We don't have like an exact brick selection, but on the rendering, that's closer to what they're leaning towards, more of like a limestone stone color and then a reddish type brick.
Okay, that's all I had to ask.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Okay, we will close public participation. And any further questions, discussions?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan as it's proposed, which would include reference to how stormwater is being managed on the property, reference to all of the landscaping and pervious surface that's there, and so as to not allow discharge onto the neighboring properties, because in this case in particular, it's so close to the neighbor on the south side of it. But other than that, I would move to have it approved as it's presented, subject to the fact that the ZBA, thank you very much for alerting me, subject to ZBA approval of a variance for the room that you proposed.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like your plans back?
Congratulations, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mark.
Situation like that,
Okay.
it's so reasonable.
Matter introduction of proposed ordinance changes to prohibited uses for short-term rentals. Item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, we're introducing this. We'd like to set it for a public hearing, but I want to explain and give you some background on this and some of the problems that we've had so far. We have not been, our ordinance doesn't really take into consideration short-term rentals, so people have been doing it. Part of the problem that we've had is, we've had people renting it for house parties. Huntington Woods is not a destination. It's not by a beach, it's not by a lake. We don't have a ski mountain on Rackham or anything like that. And people don't book houses in here so they can get a tea time at Rackham. So what happens here is that people are renting them for house parties. We've had a couple incidents where some very dangerous house parties have happened. What do I mean dangerous? I mean that somebody had called in a shots fired at one of the house parties. The police came, and believe me, when you get a shots fired in Huntington Woods, it is not something that we're common to. They send the army. So everybody comes. There's hundreds of people at this house party. People are running out of the place. Nobody heard shots fired, but somebody did throw an object through the front window of the place. So this was a short-term rental. The person rented it. My understanding was they were charging admission for the party, which makes it a business. So on top of that, we had police officers go, and it puts the lives of people that are attending the party, residents who live nearby, and I won't look at anybody specifically, but people that have a problem with this. And what we're trying to do is, we're just gonna say no for the R1 districts for that. So in order to do that, I have to make it a prohibition in the R1, a prohibited use in the R1 districts. Now, in order to avoid exclusionary zoning, we did put it in the RT district as a special land use. So what does that mean? That means that if somebody does want to have short-term rentals, and it lends itself to helping us develop Woodward with condos on the second floor, third floor, and redeveloping these structures on Woodward, then what would happen is, they would go ahead and do that. And then they would build those, and then if they wanted to rent those out, which typically they don't do that in condos, but it would take it out of the residential areas. We would not be problematic with exclusionary zoning. And all of this, believe me, all of this has been run through the attorney, and I've had many, many conversations. So, and then another thing is, so you can see where it is here, the proposed ordinance is before you. It was included in the packet so that you have that. That lets you know where it is for that, lets you know where we want to be. So on another note, and perhaps I might call on Mr. Olsman for a little bit of his expertise in this too. The city commission was given an ordinance that the attorney Matthew Zaleski and I had talked about significantly before it even went to the commission on that. And basically what they've done is they've gone ahead and they've, for lack of a better situation, created a quasi-moratorium on this and given us 30 days to come up with this. So I want to put this on the next planning commission meeting, have the public hearing, and then at that point, we would send it back to the city commission. And this, again, just so that you know, this comes to here, and this is one of the reasons that I have to jump the last ordinance again, the roofing materials, because this came in. So we would like to take this, have a public hearing at the next meeting, take public comment at the next meeting, and then your thoughts or anything like that. So if you have some thoughts, this is an introduction. If there's anything that's glaring to you that you want to point out tonight, that's fine. I'm sure that Rachel will capture it in the minutes. But having said that, this is what we intend to come back with you at next month at the meeting, along with our roofing ordinance.
Any questions for Hank?
Your proposal or from the city commission is anything less than 30 days, is that correct?
Anything less than 30 days will be considered short-term rental.
Okay.
So the people that are renting Airbnbs for the weekend in here, that'll stop.
But people who are renting more than 30 days for somebody who needs it, whether it's building or whether it's a sports figure that's coming in and wants to live in Huntington Woods and is renting a house or whatever else for a period that's permissible.
We have those right now.
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
We don't consider that, speaking not on behalf of my colleagues, but with respect to the city commission, 30 days to me is not a short-term rental. Granted, it's not ownership, but you could have a lease if you were just rent, it doesn't matter. It's not, what we're trying to prevent is the house party scenario, a la Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, where there was a shooting incident. We're not gonna have that here, period. And I mean, I know there are people that feel, as expressed at the city commission meeting, well, if a family's coming to visit somebody and, you know, they just need a place, well, that's fine, but it's not we're not gonna allow short-term rentals. The people that are building that house on the corner of Nadine and Hendry are not planning on seeing a house party next door. You know, this is not gonna happen. This is just not the way our area is. It's not what residents in this city want or expect. And you buy a house on a street in Huntington Woods, you believe you're living on a residential street, not one where somebody, like Hank said, somebody's charging admission to get into, you know, a house party. No, absolutely not. Doesn't belong here, and this isn't that kind of situation, so.
And I think one of the points, just to go to Commissioner Olsman's point here, is that one house we had 2 police runs at. That means they were repetitively leasing the same building. So now I've issued tickets, And the tickets, one of them has a court appearance scheduled for it. And the reason is because not only do they not have able to do short-term leases, they don't even have a landlord license. So, and this helps circumvent a lot of that. And, you know, it's just something we need to do. We all pay a significant amount of taxes to live in an environment which consistently makes us one of America's top 10 suburbs, Michigan's top 10 suburbs, and every other award that we can find on here. We're on those lists. This is not why we're on those lists, and this is not a list we want to be on. So I believe that the commission is, I 100% agree with the commission on this, and I think that it's something that we need to do to protect ourselves. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's the same evening that about 4 weeks ago, right around the block for me, and I can tell you that there was a big disturbance that evening. I didn't even know about the one later. I heard about that through some neighbors of mine. That happened 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was not a, you know, oh, they're just getting together in the backyard in the house. It was a full-blown, you know, many people, many cars, big disturbance in the neighborhood.
Reminiscent of college times.
Yeah, it was at East Lansing. So, okay. Do we need to open that up to public participation now?
You should take
Okay,
public comment.
okay.
It was on the agenda, so if
Yeah.
anybody has anything they want to say, it's always fair to have public comment, better more than less.
May I ask a question?
Yes, for
before?
sure. I was just gonna say.
The only thing I would want to know is if the commission is open to not making it more of a, maybe 2 weeks as opposed to 30 days. It would still meet the same requirements, right? And not have a one-day party or weekend party.
So
But we would-
I'll give you my thoughts on that when we talked about the 30 days. If somebody is going to rent it for 2 weeks, so realistically, that's the 2 weekend price or whatever it is. That's half the price of the 30 days, which presumably is a month. So for somebody that's making, say, if, and I don't know this, if they're charging $20 a head and they get 200 people in, that's $4,000. You do it for 2 weeks, right? That's $8,000. They're not gonna care about the $1,000 for fees for 2 weeks to rent it for 2 weeks. So that's why they went 30 days, because it's a month. You have a better, idea that there's gonna be less people that would even consider doing that because of the longer time frame. But again, as far as would they consider that, that's something that you can ask your colleagues that, when we do that and bring it up for public hearing.
The only thing
Absolutely.
is that I've seen a lot of, on our, for example, our page on social media, people asking for rentals for family members visiting, and usually it's about maybe a week to 2 weeks' time, where family members are not going to stay for a month, but they do want to come visit family here for a week or 2. That was my only concern.
And I understand that, and that's a fair concern, but again, there's a balancing point.
Of course.
And that's something that you're gonna have to decide, with the understanding this is ultimately gonna go back to the commission. The commission decided the 30 days was appropriate for their ordinance, then went directly to them. I wouldn't think, and again, I don't know and I don't pretend to speak for them, but I wouldn't think that they would take lesser than 30 days in the ordinance, and they may, should we even come with that, they would very likely change it back to the 30 days. That's my take on
We
it.
gave it immediate effect. at the last
Yes.
meeting, so, not just a first reading, but immediate effect.
Yeah, there's no second reading on that.
Because tomorrow, or this week was May 1st, summer, blah, blah, blah. We're not, this is trying to get ahead of a problem. That's foreseeable, that you can see it. You can see where it could go and how it could happen. And even with good intention situations, I get it. But like Hank said, there's a balance to be achieved here. And I think if most residents in this city would not on a monkey survey say, oh yeah, let's have, weekend rentals, not no.
I was looking for an Airbnb for my in-laws, and I was perfectly fine with them staying in Royal Oak. I mean, it's right there.
Berkeley has.
I like my in-laws, but I'm like, I don't need them 1 block away if they're visiting. Like, a 5-minute drive is okay too.
Berkeley is.
Yeah, Berkeley, like there were a lot of Airbnbs in the surrounding areas, just from when I was
So
searching.
here's another thing, and to your point, Sarah, there is a lot of things that the city, the founding fathers and that didn't contemplate. Airbnb is one of them. Another one is marijuana stores, right? We don't have them
Down
here.
one,
Down
right
one.
now.
We don't have them in Huntington
Butter.
Woods, but they have them in Berkeley, Hazel Park, whatever. And part of the reason that Butter went out over here is that, you know, nobody from Huntington Woods is going over there where their neighbors can see them going into the marijuana store. So there was a lack of people purchasing it, and that store just didn't do well. And plus, they had spent an awful lot of money in the get-go, because the city made them do the underwater retention for the storm, for the parking lot, and that, there was additional costs for that, and they just couldn't recoup them, is my understanding. So what it means is that just because you can't get something here, you can get it close by. Huntington Woods, for example, has no agricultural zoning, no industrial zoning. We just don't have a place for that, you know? And then again, if it's determined by the city commission or recommended by the planning commission to the city commission that you not do this, that, that'll just go along with those. There's just, you can't be all things to all people. So that's the thought process behind it. What my point was, obviously you can take public input on it. My point was is that I need to get public hearings set on this because it's the desire of the city commission to move forward on this.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing now, we'll open up the public participation. And we'll close public participation. Okay. So we're setting, we don't need a vote or anything like that. We're
We
just,
do need a vote to set it for public
Okay.
hearing for the next regular meeting.
okay.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next one, again, I promise it'll come next month. And it couldn't, because we kind of got sandbagged on a bunch of different things that came in. So the public hearing for roofing, we would like to postpone to the same meeting, if that's the pleasure of the planning commission.
We're gonna have a public hearing for that and short-term rentals the same night?
Yes.
Need a motion to table that?
Need a motion to table that to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll open up to public participation for any items that are not on the agenda this evening.
Hello again. So I want to wish you a happy anniversary, and that is tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary that you've had action item number 48 as a high priority from the master plan, and action topic 13 is medium priority. And so I'm just wondering what you need for support to get that wrapped up. So 48 is, determining, basically a rain event standard, first flush. I guess it's funny. So, like we had that awful rain a couple weeks ago. What's gonna be the rain event standard that you're gonna use? And also, I would encourage you to look at Noack and Fraus's grading reviews and see if it really tells you, can this property manage the water within its own confines? And also, just to point out too, again, your medium priority, I either move them to no priority or do something about them. You know, you're not supposed to be dropping downspouts on impervious surfaces. I think the nice house that came up tonight's gonna drop on the driveway area. The other ones are. So I just, I'm frustrated, but obviously you need some more support. And I don't know why we're paying Matthew Zalewski to legal hours to Google other cities' codes and then just hand them over to you with nothing highlighted. Because I'm just wondering how much of a grip do you have on the stormwater codes? I've been thinking, maybe you think it's Noack and Fraus and Hank's problem. And you just wanna, you think all the Ts have been crossed and the i's have been dotted by the time it gets to you. I don't know. But this has been sitting here, and meanwhile, neighbors get flooded out by other neighbors, and you're allowing cities, or you're allowing properties to drop a lot of water into the city sewer when they could be managing it on their own property. And I did FOIA Noack and Frause's contract. They've been our contractor since 1980, and the last time it went out to bid was 2018, and it's just been on auto renew. And you know, when I looked at, I'm still digging through it all, but it lets us know that we have a lot more resources than just Brad Brickle. And if you look at Brad Brickle's background, he's really a road guy. And they do serve Birmingham and Royal Oak and some other cities that have more similar concerns to us, where people want to stay.
Okay, about 30 seconds.
Yeah, they're building out their houses. So let's ask for some other resources if Brad's not helping us. And we should be looking at an impermeable surface ratio. So I'd encourage you to look into the 50% rear lot coverage and look at an impermeable surface ratio for a rear lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Okay, we'll close public participation. And motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.